Welcome back to Florida Criminal Law TV, our short series answering viewer questions. My name is Stephen Cobb, and I'm here to answer some more questions that people have been asking. And our next question in this series is, when you expunge a record in Florida, is it the same as getting charges dropped? And the answer is no, not at all. It's completely different. You have to have charges dropped, which means the state has filed either a no prosecution, a null prosequi, a judge has ordered them dismissed, or they've been abandoned in some other manner. What that means is then your criminal case is over, but the arrest information is still out there. So I'm going to go through what is the best practice for answering this particular question. And the best practice for answering this question is simply to say that's really two separate things. One is, yeah, you want to get the charges dismissed or dropped or whatever you want to call it, whether by null pros, no prosequi, whatever. You want those charges to go away if at all possible, and you're a first offender with no prior record, because once that's done, expungement, cleaning out the databases and government agencies such as law enforcement agencies, the state attorney's office, the court system, that's a critical component. And you actually need three things. Let's go through that. Number one, you need some form of dismissal. Number two, you need a record expunction, which erases the charge. But then three, you've got a problem in today's social media internet world. An expunction does not help you when it comes to somebody randomly putting your name into a search engine to find out more about you. Many people have been surprised to get their charges dismissed or dropped, and then they get an expunction only to find out somebody sticks their name in Google and says, oh, this person has criminal history, we're not going to hire them. Now, is an employer supposed to just stick people's names in a search engine to find out about them and find out if they have criminal history as part of a background check? No, they're not supposed to do it. Now, the reality is lots of them do it. So the third thing you're going to need is digital erasure. And that's something that's a little bit beyond the scope of the question. But the short answer is getting a case dismissed or dropped is not the same as an expunction. And to add on to that, I recommend in every case where someone qualifies for expunction to do digital erasure. I recommend that you contact somebody like erasemugshots.com. I'd love to tell you that we can do the work that they do and tell you how much it will cost, but the answer is that's not a legal set of issues, getting digital information on the internet cleared out. So once the legal part has been concluded, obtaining some form of dismissal and an expunction has been done, either right before the expunction or after, I think, in my opinion, you should have contact with somebody like erasemugshots.com so that they can do digital erasure and clean out that negative internet information. Sometimes if they can't clean it out, they can do a burial. What does that mean? Let me ask you a question. When you're using a search engine, do you ever go to page 2? Does anybody go to page 2? 99% of the time the answer is no. Burial of criminal information, when you can't get digital erasure, let's say it's a domestic violence case where you're not going to get an expunction if charges aren't dismissed, even if you have a probationary sentence with no conviction, that can't be expunged. But what they can do is they can bury it to where it shows up on page 137 of Google results when your name is put in, instead of on page 1. And if nobody goes to page 2, for all practical purposes, nobody's going to page 137 and looking at the 8th result on the page. So either way, if you qualify for dismissal, whether by negotiation or court order or whatever, and your record is going to be expunged or not, you still need to consider digital erasure. Now, I know my colleagues are not talking about this, but I think for you or someone you loved, all three components are very important.